sequence on the back, or on the neck, sorry. Not everybody was blessed by their benevolent creator with long legs. So, what I want to do when I get this double motorcycle grip, as we start to fall, I step on his hip. Now, I'm going to take my left hip and I'm going to bring it underneath him. All right, so he's resting on my midline. Now I can pretty easily set my foot here, put myself in base, set my foot across his hip, and withdraw my hip back. And I'm staying underneath him. So if you're not making that little hip adjustment, it can be tricky, right? Like if you're just going like this, you see, even though I've got long legs, it's still not quite working, so I didn't make that initial hip adjustment. So grip, and I'm like, I get myself over here, and I can, I can step to do that, whatever. But I'm pretty much like making a 90 degree angle relative to the ground with my thigh. And now I set my foot. I set my foot in base, and now I start to angle my hips out and bring my shoulder underneath them. So we're getting here, right? So add that at the beginning. Now we're gonna start going through a hand fighting sequence. We're gonna go over some stuff, time permitting, using this leg, but the first thing you should try for here is, because this hand has to be at the end of the lever, it's fairly easy for me to scrape it off. So all I'm gonna use is like the palm of my hand. For some people, this will work better if you've ever done Aikido and you've done like a Kotegaeshi, right? It's an outward twisting, or if you've ever seen a Steven Seagal movie, right? In which case, I'm sorry. Whichever method works for you. I used to do this a lot. I've grown to favor this more, right? And now I'm gripping his wrist. So I get it as close as you need to see this, because this is small detail. I'm here. He must be gripping here. If he's not, I just automatically go to the choke. So he's gripping. I'm like, I can also, by the way, use my knee to push his elbow. So if you're dealing with a problem, you're like, man, can't quite get this to happen. If he does that, then it's game over. So no one smart's gonna do that. They're gonna be staying. But I just push his arm forward a little bit, and I grip it. Now it's vulnerable. I'm gripping over the meat of the thumb, or if I scraped it off, I'm gripping over the wrist. And now my forearm here is pinching down, and I'm trapping his arm to the ground. So this is our first dig hand fighting sequence. I'm pinning his arm, both of them with one hand. We call this an arrowhead. I'm gonna point my finger, I'm gonna point my thumb, and I'm gonna wrap my forefinger around my thumb. So I've got something prominent but narrow. I wanna be able to dig underneath here without having to use like a fist. That's not gonna be efficient. Now the other thing I need to do is recognize that his head and his neck are mobile. So if I'm digging like this and his head can move, anyone who's experienced with back defense will shut you down here. What I'm gonna do is take my chin and place it in the crook of his neck. So my jaw should be making a wedge, or really like a type of frame, so that his neck can't move very much. Now I take that arrowhead and I put it behind his jaw. Don't try to go through here, especially guys with long horse-like jaws. It will be able to interfere with this process.
It's a wall.
I make this arrowhead, and I stab him behind his ear in the side of his neck, and I keep this here. And then I just start driving, and it's super unpleasant. So the harder you resist, the worse it's gonna be. So if you wanna feel it against resistance, come grab me or come grab Rory, we'll oblige you. And then you can not go so hard. So once I get under here, I grab the scapula, which is the back of the collarbone here, and I keep my head tight. Now, this is still trapped. If you know how to finish the rear naked choke with one arm, go ahead. That's kind of a tutorial in and of itself, so I won't bother right now. If you don't, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna go use my base. I'm gonna rock. Sorry,
choking already.
Sorry, there we go. I'll do a crack on it. I'm gonna use my base. I'm gonna rock him. I'm gonna pull my arm out. I'm gonna go right back to finishing on the choke. All right. So let's just go through that hand fighting sequence again. Let's just go through the whole thing. I'm here. I step. I move my hip, and then I adjust my hip so I can comfortably get my leg over top. I use my knee if I need to. Scrape control. Chin comes in. Arrowhead. Dig. Scapula, extend using your leg, come back, finish on the rear naked choke. All right, give it a try, and we'll see how it works for you. All right, 1, 2, 3.